So we are in the midst of a huge transformation where our peers, communities, and workplaces are all really melding into one. Welcome to Reimagining Company Culture. My name is Madison Kamek, and I'm the Senior Customer Success Manager at AllVoices. Today, I'm very excited to welcome our next guest onto the show, Anupama Naidu, the Head of Legal and Diversity at Gain Credit. She goes by Anu. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Madison.
So would love to just kind of kick it off with, some introductions. Tell us about yourself, including your pronouns, and then how would you answer this question when you were younger? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, my pronouns are she and hers. And I was born in India, but I grew up in Connecticut. And so although I am Indian, I did grow up in the United States. So a number of assumptions are made sometimes about my Indian cultural heritage that don't take into account my Connecticut upbringing. But I knew from a young age that I wanted to help protect and serve people in some way. I explored careers in international social policy and psychology, and I eventually found that the law and DEI was the right fit.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. So when we think about company culture, we'll start kind of there. With all the changes happening in the workforce, positive company culture is more sought after than ever. Do you think the easiest way to improve company culture is to remove workplace issues?
It's a great question, and workplace issues will never go away, unfortunately. Conflict is inherent in any environment, and resolution of conflict brings growth. So transparency, effective communication, and open environment to raise issues, and fostering environments where people can speak freely about how they feel. So there's a meeting of the minds, and individuals who are engaged in conflict can truly understand where the other person is coming from is a solution from my perspective.
I love that. That's really cool. As the head of legal at Gain Credit, what was the feedback from leadership and your CEO about formalizing DEI initiatives?
I'm really fortunate in having amazing support from my executive team. Especially the two CEOs, the group CEO that we have and the CEO of consumer lending. I could not have embedded DEI in the company without their support. And every member of the executive team integrated the crux of the DEI message into their words, actions, and practices. I think that is really the key in terms of embedding DEI in a company's culture.
Very cool. That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. That's so important to have that, executive sponsorship on all those important, factors. So what would you say is the North Star of Gain's, DEI strategy?
Well, first and foremost, we are a company, and we are a for-profit company. So DEI has to align with our company's objective and key results. We care about our customers, but it also has to fit in with our corporate strategy. Otherwise, it doesn't have teeth.
That's a great point. And you all are a global company. You have, employees in the US, the UK, and India. So as a global, company, what pieces of your company culture need to remain local, and then what parts are kind of global?
Well, for any company, values need to be global. They can be interpreted in different ways, but you need to have kind of a common set of values across geographies, and everyone needs to understand what those mean. And they need to be critical to functioning. And we at Gain Credit take values very seriously. They're included in our performance reviews. And in every geography, individuals need to prove, and leaders need to prove, that they're adhering to all of the company values. What remains local is the manner of interacting and what each geography is battling with. So I think understanding each other and paying attention is really critical. So our main customer base is in the UK, and we also have many employees in India, and we have a US office as well. So it is important for me as a US employee to be mindful of what's happening in the news in the UK and India, and of course, cricket.
That's awesome. That's a great way to kind of think about it. I think that'll resonate with a lot of people, with global organizations as well. Um, what would you say is kind of the connection between company well-being, employee well-being, diversity, and inclusion?
Well, you're going to feel good and engaged if you are heard at work and if you feel that your opinion matters, even if another course of action is taken. So I think that's the key to inclusion. No one is perfect. So making sure you figure out unique ways of getting that information out of your direct report. If you're a leader, and if you are an individual who has a manager and you don't feel that manager is open or to receiving those ideas, you have to bring it up. You have to talk about it, and it's a symbiotic exchange where companies need to foster that culture and employees need to speak up as well.
Yeah, and on that note of kind of thinking about employees speaking up, employees, engaging, how do you, redefine employee engagement over the past year?
Well, again, employees are going to be happy. They're going to have flow. They're going to feel that they're adding value. The more that communication is fostered. People are, engagement includes employees kind of fixing areas that might be outside their scope of work, bringing their whole selves to work. Without that symbiotic exchange of managers being able to understand employee struggles, and without employees being able to communicate that to managers, it's really difficult to have employee engagement. The other piece of it is to have directors and senior managers discuss engagement. So what's great about GAIN is that there's kind of a directors board, on teams, and a number of the directors who are really passionate about DEI will post articles, and there are discussions about employee engagement. Especially recently, there were some discussions about quiet quitting in the marketplace, and the directors group had really robust and meaningful discussions about how leaders at GAIN could kind of make sure that their employees are really engaged given this kind of quiet quitting phenomenon.
I love that. That's such a cool idea. I really, really like that. Can you tell me a little bit about how you and the organization have redesigned a system to be more equitable over the past 2 years, kind of redesigning spaces as well? This
Sure.
can be, a process, policy, anything.
Absolutely. So my philosophy as the head of DEI is to, that my role is to embed the concept of DEI into the fabric of a company, kind of bringing the vision of leadership together with kind of how something is received by the customer base. So processes, policies, initiatives naturally evolve. So one of the things that the company ran with was revamping internal and external communications to be more inclusive. And so this was really important to our CEO of consumer lending. And I think the company did a fabulous job.
I love that. That's really cool. Can you share maybe some common mistakes that you see companies making in their DEI strategies?
Sure, of course. Failing to get buy-in at all levels and creating a space where people don't feel comfortable asking questions or challenging DEI. You're never going to have 100% of individuals on board, but you do want to create a space where individuals aren't afraid to ask that difficult question. There can be no growth or true acceptance of DEI if people cannot have a meaningful discussion about how they truly think about it. And then you can kind of move the needle to be closer and to have a meeting of the minds. So if you have to have 50 one-to-ones, I would say do that. Don't just send comms without being accessible for people to challenge the ideas in those comms. And inclusion means tolerance of, many different perspectives, not just one.
That's really a great way to think about it. Just kind of making sure that what you're doing, you're also open to feedback and listening, and kind of hearing what other people have to say. So I really, really like that. Obviously that bodes well with us. And so final question here, would love to know if there's anything else that you would like to share that I didn't ask about, or if there's 1 to 2, key insights that you hope listeners, bring with them after this podcast.
Sure, absolutely. Well, changes in the geopolitical climate are inevitable. Economies go up and down. So being able to really understand what matters about diversity, equity, inclusion, and being able to still drive that agenda, but also be flexible in a time of constrained costs is really critical to heads of DEI at this juncture.
Amazing. Well, Anu, thank you so much for today. I know I enjoyed this conversation, and I know a lot of people, it will resonate with them as well. So thanks for your knowledge, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.